Every time the music stops, Trump is in charge. Flint West reporting. Section 1. The room was dim, lit only by the cold blue glow of trading screens and the faint red pulse of alert tickers. Wall Street had gone quiet. Not the usual Friday hush, something heavier. Like the air before a storm breaks. Traders sat motionless, fingers hovering, eyes fixed on numbers that refused to stabilize. Section 2. In the Oval Office, far from the glass towers, the man at the center of it all leaned back in his chair. Donald Trump, POTUS 47, the same man who had been there before when the world first froze in 2020. He stared at the bank of monitors, showing real-time feeds. Brent crude climbing past 112, tankers idling useless in the Persian Gulf, the Strait of Hormuz, a choke point turned graveyard. He muttered something about strength, about winning, but the words felt thin against the data streaming in. Section 3. It always started the same way. The music played, loud, confident, relentless. Markets rose on promises of deals, tariffs as leverage, America first as rocket fuel. Then, inevitably, the needle lifted. Silence. Section 4. Trump in charge. The first time, it was a virus no one saw coming. Early 2020, the S&P 500 had ridden high on tax cuts and bravado, up trillions since Inauguration Day. Then Wuhan locked down, supply chains snapped, fear did the rest. Circuit breakers tripped 4 times in 10 days. The Dow plunged 3,000 points in a single afternoon. By March, the United States market had erased roughly 11 trillion from its peak, with global panic pushing the headline number toward 20 trillion in evaporated wealth. Retirement accounts vanished overnight. Businesses shuttered. The body count wasn't just medical, it was economic, measured in foreclosures, pink slips, and shattered 401ks. Presidents are judged on the tape when the music stops. Voters do not parse policy nuance, they feel the pain in their wallets. Trump was ejected after 1 term. The lesson should have been clear. Don't be the guy in the chair when the band quits. But history does not whisper warnings. It screams them, and some refuse to listen. Section 5. Trump in charge. He came back in 2025, louder than ever. Liberation Day, April 2nd. Sweeping tariffs announced with fanfare. The market read the fine print first. Higher costs, retaliation, uncertainty. 2.4 trillion gone from the S&P 500 in hours. By the second day, 5 trillion. From February's peak, United States stocks hemorrhaged nearly 9 trillion. Global markets topped 10 trillion in damage. Not noise, crater. This content is brought to you by Bobby Giggs. Promote your brand here and reach a wide audience across platforms like YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Follow the links in the description to get started. Section 6. The tally begins. Then October. China escalated rare earths, tech bans, mirror tariffs. Trump countered with the unthinkable. 100% duties. The announcement landed like a shockwave. The Dow down nearly 2%, the S&P almost 3%, the Nasdaq worse. Roughly 1.5 to 2 trillion, vaporized in a single session. The rhythm was unmistakable now. Each collision amplified the fragility. Trump in charge, something breaks. Trump in charge, trillions disappear. Trump in charge, the siren repeats. Section 7. February 28, 2026, the strikes came at dawn. United States and Israeli jets hitting Iranian nuclear sites, command centers, oil infrastructure. Tehran responded, as expected. Mines, missiles, a de facto blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. 1/5 of the world's oil suddenly hostage. Brent surged toward 120 at peaks. Dubai crude briefly touching absurd heights above 150 before settling in triple-digit terror. Tanker traffic halted. Insurance rates exploded. Freight costs tripled. The market did not just reprice. It panicked in slow motion. Airlines cratered. Consumer stocks buckled under looming inflation. Manufacturers braced for input shocks that would ripple into everything. Food, fertilizer, plastics, power. Central banks faced the impossible. Fight inflation with hikes while growth imploded from energy strangulation. Reuters and Bloomberg tallied the initial waves. Several trillion erased globally in days. one estimate pinning the first 48 hours at 3.2 trillion. The S&P 500, once flirting with 7,000 in January, now hovered around 6,500 on March 20th, down 5 to 7% from pre-war highs, 4 straight weeks of losses. The Dow sat at 45,577, bleeding points daily. But the real terror was not the realized losses yet. It was the question hanging in every trading room, every White House briefing, every kitchen table conversation. How bad does it get? Because this was not isolated shocks anymore. It was a pattern of amplification. Section 8. Pandemic fragility turned lethal. Trade fault lines widened into chasms. Energy arteries slashed open. Each time the administration did not stabilize. It poured accelerant. The doomsday maps were already being sketched in hushed analyst calls. A prolonged recession, cascading defaults, earnings collapses. If oil stayed strangled long enough, if confidence shattered completely, the extreme scenarios whispered, 80 to 100 trillion gone worldwide. The S&P 500 at 3,000, the Dow under 20,000. From current levels, that meant more than 50% wiped from United States equities alone. 35 to 40 trillion in American wealth vaporized. Global contagion could double it. Not consensus, not base case, but plausible if every fire burned at once. In the Oval, the screens kept flashing. Trump paced, phone in hand, barking orders. Advisors murmured about de-escalation, back channels, emergency Federal Reserve liquidity. But the music had stopped again, and everybody heard it. Section 9. Trump in charge. The room waited for the next sound. Not applause, not cheers. The sickening crack of something systemic giving way. Confidence, credit, civilization's fragile inputs. Because the deeper accusation was not that he started every storm. It was simpler, colder. When the fault lines cracked, when latent fragility became visible catastrophe, he was always the one turning up the volume. Not unlucky, a volatility multiplier. And now the silence stretched. No one knew how long it would last, or how much it would cost when the music tried to start again. Flint West signing off.